All right, good morning. Today is Saturday, March 15th, 2025. I'm Anthony, and I just wanted to kick off this video. I don't know, just sharing, my struggles to be productive as a husband, father, teacher, homeowner, right? I throughout the week kind of recap what I go through each day, and I'll just share briefly now that, more of the same, whereas, yesterday getting home from work, those couple hours, it's kind of torture between, when I get home and my daughter vying for my attention, between that and bedtime. It's like, okay, what can I do? How can I feel productive? And I was trying to, as I recorded yesterday, there's part that I wanted to edit out, and I'm like, it's only going to take 10 minutes or so. And I was trying to do it with my daughter, but then she was, touching my laptop, and I'm like, don't touch, it's only for daddy, not for you. And then I needed to get the video off my phone onto my computer. I had the USB cable, and while it's transferring over my downloads, she pulls the USB cable out of the phone. I'm going, oh man, and just really struggling through all that. I was able to get it done after she and my wife went on a walk. My son was playing Fortnite. I was able to edit and upload that video, but then it wasn't until they then went to bed where I was able to get downstairs in the basement, sand some spackle, do some more spackling, touching up, make sure I get it just right before I paint. But I guess I had this realization that I said to myself when she got in from that walk, I said, oh man, my life is coming to a screeching halt. Whenever you're around, it just comes to a screeching halt. And I guess really the truth is, right, she's actually reminding me of what's most important. That's not her in the background. I'm at soccer practice. But realizing that she's just reminding me what's important in life, and I do need to drop those other things and really focus on her and my family, and figure out other ways to be productive and get those things from my list done. And like I said, last night I was up till like after 11 o'clock, trying to get that work on the basement, and then she woke me up this morning before 7, and it is what it is, right? So I could make her some pancakes, spend some time with her, watch a little bit of Blue's Clues before she goes to the gym with mom, and I'm here with my son at soccer practice and a game later today and everything like that. But just wanted to share that. Now you're about to rewind and revisit what I shared on Monday. But the highlight for me from the week, the big message I think was to really seek validation, right? And I hope that that's what I'm offering to you and sharing my struggles, that you're able to watch these videos and say, oh, look, there's a guy like me too, he gets it, he struggles to be productive, and, but he's also found some ways, and maybe I can too, right? That, again, there's hope, or there's camaraderie, or there's an understanding, that we are going to struggle. We're not always going to get it right, and we're not going to accomplish everything we set out to do every single day. There are going to be some things that are thrown our way, but we can find a way. So I hope that's, the message that I can offer to you. And I really do want to thank again, specific users, Casey and Matthew, who, commented on my videos and kind of, fill my cup, keep me going, right? It's like, yes, there are people listening, there are people willing to reach out, wanting to reach out, make that connection. So I really do appreciate you providing me, that validation. So thank you. And so, like I said, with that, we're going to rewind to Monday. I hope you'll, watch, if you haven't already seen, watch my videos from throughout the week here. If you have already watched them, thank you for watching them as I uploaded them throughout the week. But then everything else after here is a repeat for you. But if you're a first-time watcher, please, I think I offer a lot of content, things you might latch onto, comment on, and I will get back to you. But that's it for me. Enjoy the week's videos, and I will see you on Monday. Take care. All right, good morning. It is Monday, March 10th, 2025. Happy Mario Day. I'm Anthony, and this is Drive Die. So I guess, right, you're here because you've got maybe some concerns about productivity, or you're looking for some, tips and tricks on how to be more productive. And so I'm just putting this out there so you get some sort of barometer, I suppose, right? Looking into my life as I reflect on some things I've read about habits, and right now Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. I'll give you a recap of my weekend, my thoughts on my levels of productivity, or whether or not I feel productive, and then you take that with you and decide whether you're doing a good enough job for yourself, or or if you need to somehow engage in some sort of improvement process, as James Clear says, get 1% better every day. So for me, the weekend, I guess I'll recap from Friday, as that was the last time I recorded. It's interesting. I don't know if I don't know if I really remember Friday night. I got to hang out with my daughter while my son and my wife were out at a show, so spent a lot of time with her. Ran around, picked up some Lorcana cards. Right, the brand new set just dropped this weekend at small local stores. Big box retailers happens later, so it's pretty cool. They support small businesses that way. After that, I think we took care of some dinner on the way home, at home. Then I wanted to hit up Guitar Center with her. She's really young. I don't know what she's into yet. She can't really tell me what she's into, but we have a drum set at home, and she bangs on it from time to time, and I'm thinking, maybe she's musically inclined, so, we'll take a trip to Guitar Center, see if anything, speaks to her, and, I mean, aside from this, bright green colored electric guitar with some pink accents, real watermelon looking thing, that costs, I think it was $450 or something, which we were not picking up, right? I can really push the envelope and kind of dive into things, but I know the limits, right? I'm not going to buy a nearly $500 piece of equipment on a whim, thinking, she might be interested in music, But given we have a drum set at home, I was okay picking up a little cowbell action accessory to kind of add to the kit, and then she grabbed a few. By a few, I don't know why more than two, but she picked up 3 of these little pink maracas, so I said, why not? And that's what we ended up leaving Guitar Center with. Saturday was super busy. Started off with soccer in the morning with my son for about an hour. Home for lunch, cleaning up a little bit, and then he and I went to, again, Lorcana dropped this weekend, so we went to a sealed event. It's a bit different if you're new to TCGs, right? I mean, just a bunch of different formats and things. So anyway, we went and played cards, right? Without getting into too much detail there. But that took us all the way up until 6 o'clock. We're driving home, and then he wanted to go to another card shop where we started playing, and so to try to make an appearance, right? Maintain those relationships. Say hey, goof around a little bit. Slightly different atmospheres. If you do end up ever checking out TCGs, different stores, different groups of people, different vibes. So it was cool to just go to this second shop and hang out despite the hour, despite already having been out, all day. We then went to a second shop, and so, got home around, 9 o'clock or so. And then yesterday was, I don't remember. I don't know. The big thing I was trying to tackle was a sort of basement project where I've got California Closets coming in to install a desk, and so I'm hoping to get an electrician in there, and then I end up being the painter. So I tried to spackle a little bit, which is just super hard to do with the kids, vying for my attention and whatnot. Tried to spackle a little bit, but I had to move a lot of furniture. It was certainly the couches away from the walls, and even then I'm only looking at maybe the stairwell down into the basement, and then the couple walls that I really do need to paint that the desk is going to touch, right, and be on. I got to take care of those walls. So I think that was it, right? I say that's it because I'm like, gosh, I didn't work out at all. I really didn't do any work. I teach high school, so grading papers and writing tests and lesson plans and really planning out the week. So I have an idea in my head, but I didn't get to really sit down and get all that on paper. But it's like, so was I productive or was I not productive, right? I did some things. Yesterday too, we took our daughter to a music lesson. I looked for that while my son was at soccer. I was there with him, It's cool. They have a small field, so I was able to get some steps in, just kind of pacing back and forth while he was practicing, running through some drills and stuff. And then I was like, oh, let me see if I can get, my daughter signed up for some music lessons. I actually found one for her age group, but by the time we got there, just the timing and things, maybe the time change, right, as we sprung ahead this weekend, and she had just woken up from a nap, so it was not a pleasant experience. She did more crying than actually playing, but yeah, we warmed up a little bit in the end, and kind of as a family played Old MacDonald Had a Farm with these tubes. I don't know if you're familiar, musically inclined, not. It's kind of cool. But yeah, was I productive or was I not productive? And I think James Clear, when he talks about goals and systems and so on, I know for me, right, was I productive or do I just feel productive? Sometimes I don't feel productive, and you could say I was not productive because I didn't work out. Right? I have equipment at home. You can call it a home gym. And I didn't work out all weekend. I don't think I even got on the walking pad, right? Is sort of a new trend, right? Not a full-fledged treadmill, but a walking pad. I don't even think I got on that for 20 minutes, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. But the one thing I did do, right, and I consistently do, is I stick to my diet. Right? I do count my macros. I've shared in previous videos that I pretty much eat the same thing every day. Comment down below if you're interested. I put it in writing instead of pointing out the video and making you watch another video, just to get the details of my diet, what I eat every day, my weight loss goals, and the progress I've made there. And so for me, it's like, okay, well, even if I didn't work out, I can say in that realm, right, I was still productive in that realm, on that front, making progress toward that goal, or at least not losing any ground that I gained, on that goal. Now, by sticking to my diet, I'm not gaining excess body fat or losing, I don't think, any of the muscle that I've worked to gain. So it's one of those where, yes, I would like to have the hour each day to work out. I don't know, 45 minutes to an hour each day to work out. But if I don't, at least I stuck to my diet and I can still feel productive, right? I would have loved to have painted the entire basement, but all I did was spackle. Didn't even sand yet. I have to sand and then probably go back through and make sure, see if I need a second coat on some of these various, scratches and gouges as we've moved furniture up and down the basement stairs, and maybe as like the kids have roughhoused a little bit and thrown some things and took some, like I said, scratches and gouges, or things of that nature, to the walls. And so it's like, yeah, how much, what counts as progress, and or how do you feel? And I think that's what's more important, is how do you feel productive, feel that you've made progress. And yeah, I don't know, I guess, I'll leave it at that. It's like, yeah, I didn't get the basement done, but I did spackle. I do know how to spackle, and I was able to at least apply that knowledge, that skill, in some small way. Yeah, there's a lot of development going on around me, right, with my family, my young children, right? I was able to help my son be productive and get better at soccer, and help my daughter with her speech. She keeps bringing up this girl's name, and I'm like, and so we've just been reciting it. Last night we were saying, yeah, we'll see Melina on Tuesday at soccer. And she would, I don't know, we just kept going back and forth, right? So some speech development there, right? Like, so strengthening relationships and helping my children grow. And, it's just, you've got to take it where you can get it, where and when you can get it, and feel good about it. Granted, look, it's, I think I try to stress it's not perfect. It will never be perfect. And I don't know that, right? It's a mindset thing. I could look at things and say, you know what? You're not productive. You were not productive. Your goals, why do you have them? Right? Or I could say, like, hey, there are only 24 hours in a day. There's a reason we call it adulting, right? We have names for these sorts of things. The struggle is real, embrace the grind, right? All kinds of sayings, because it's not easy. And so, that was my weekend. With that, right, like I said, you can compare. If you'd like, I hope you're able to compare and say, okay, maybe I'm faring as well or faring better than this guy, than that guy, than Anthony. And hopefully feel better about yours. If not, I don't know, comment down below. Talk about some stuff, see what you got going on, at least feel better about it. I had a buddy over, and I first thing I did was apologize for the mess. I was like, dude, is your house like this? So now he's got 4 kids, and we have 2, and he calls it a clan. He's like, dude, you got kids. Like, this is your house. Like, it is what it is. And so I know that I need that in my life at times, that sort of comparison, right? Or to just to know that, okay, like I'm doing okay. Because I just picture my house is a mess, and James Clear says, like, your clutter is this sort of like accumulation of your tidying habits or your cleaning habits, right? And so you have this habit of not putting things away, and after a week, your house is a mess. And it's like, maybe if we had the time, we didn't have all these demands on our time, we would have better cleaning habits and find the time to put something away. Or when I try to clean up a block set, my daughter's telling me, no, Daddy, even though she's not playing with it. I'm like, all right, I guess it's staying out, sort of thing, right? I mean, we're not necessarily at fault for these things, but it's nice to know that other people are struggling with the same, that they sort of have the same results, right? The same messy house, because they're struggling with a lot of the same things we are, and they're not necessarily faring any better. So I think you might at least gain some comfort in hearing all of that from me. So comment down below, any thoughts on your feelings of productivity, your weekend, whether you felt it was a good one. And like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, all that usual stuff. I'll get into an audiobook later this afternoon, share some more thoughts tomorrow morning. Happy Monday. All right, good morning. It is Tuesday, March 11th, 2025. I'm Anthony, and this is Drive Dive. So I'm glad you're here. I appreciate you watching this video. If you don't mind, like, subscribe to the channel. Ultimately, you're here maybe because you're looking for some productivity tips, but I think you're also looking for some validation. I know that's what I search for. That's what I'm hoping to provide to you by sharing some details of my life, sharing a little bit about what I'm reading and what I'm gleaning from that reading, and maybe how it's applying to my life, or certainly helping me reflect on my life, my levels of productivity, and my search for validation, like you. So with that, I guess just quickly, running down yesterday, I don't know, right? I have this long drive. Recording these videos helps me feel better about that drive, helps me feel more productive about that drive in my day, kind of get started off on the right foot. But then after work, it's like, I don't know, just late in the afternoon, right? I kind of, watch my son, pick him up from aftercare, and then get him home for dinner. I run to therapy, and then I'm home trying to, hang out with the family. They've already eaten, so now I'm trying to eat while my daughter's like, no, you're not allowed to eat because you got to play with me, in a much cuter voice, but and then I don't know, at some point I cut my son's hair, and we went to bed. Then they went to bed. I got my son down, and then I stayed up for a little bit, little late night meal, my egg whites, yogurt, rice, and apple. Played a little bit of Disney Lorcana online, and that was my day. So was that a productive one? Were there other things maybe, like as a teacher? Sure, lesson plans and grading I didn't quite tackle. I've been working on my basement. I didn't sand or spackle, but hey, there's only 24 hours in a day, and I don't know what I was my inner voice was saying yesterday, like the time's got to come from somewhere, and right now it's coming from, in the case of my son who had to stay up late so I could cut his hair, it's coming from sleep, and for me it's like, time to cut his hair and play a little bit of Lorcana to relax at night. It's coming from grading, and just those things will have to wait, right? And so, I don't know, but on the way home and listening to Carnegie's, How to Win Friends and Influence People, two takeaways. I think the one was just talking about the importance of first impressions and smiling. I'm trying to, in this recording, consciously smile more. It's more inviting. It changes our outlook, and I guess it's contagious. There are a couple things that were said where it's like, maybe during the holidays even, where somebody's really glum and doesn't have a smile to offer you, like they need you to give them yours, right? And so just the importance of smiling and whatnot. And it's actually the other audiobook I'd been reading or tuned into was James Clear's Atomic Habits, and I mean he recommends it as well. He's talking about like sales calls, and I guess even before dialing, like just holding a smile for, I don't know, a couple of seconds or something before pressing, that dial button and whatever, and making that sales call. So something to do. And then I guess the other big thing that really resonated with me was this notion of happiness, and it does not depend. I'm trying to remember the phrasing, right? That it doesn't depend. Happiness doesn't depend on outer conditions, but rather inner conditions. That it doesn't matter where you are, what you're doing, or who you're doing it with, but how you feel about it. And I don't think in the book, I don't think they say feel. I wanted it to say feel, but I think they said like it's how you think about it. And this idea that how we think influences, I guess, first, right? It starts with thought, influences, then how we feel and how we act. And so there was some messaging there about controlling your inner thought, right? And if you can, I guess, do things like thinking about smiling. Well, okay, well then we will smile more often and exude outwardly that happiness, and I guess and feel happier, right? In that now as we're smiling, people are smiling back, and we are able to, I guess then, I don't know, ultimately be happier, which I guess, right, it depended initially on the inner thought of, hey man, smile, be happy, right? Be happy, smile. And so I mean, for me, I guess I've been tinkering with that, like trying to apply maybe that principle without knowing it to productivity, right? And I guess in my world and busy day, and maybe your world too, it's not a question of like, am I happy or not? It's or maybe it's more specific, like, am I happy with my level of productivity? Am I happy with the amount of things I'm getting done in a day, and maybe the number of things I'm leaving undone in a day, right? Am I happy with those things? Am I happy with my levels of productivity? And maybe that's what you're searching for. And the validation, right, is just, I'm sharing my struggles too, so that you can relate to, this husband, father, teacher who also likes to work out but hasn't done so and consistently in like a couple of months, and also likes to play, trading card games for himself, but also with his son. And, I mean, losing's not fun, so we got to put in the time, put in the reps, to get better at that. So, just to relate to that, and there are my levels of productivity, and maybe you're, looking at me as an example of like, all right, man, I'm doing okay, right? Compared to that guy, or doing better. And if you don't feel like you're doing as well, hopefully I'm, giving you some tips and things to hopefully feel better about your levels of productivity. And that's what I mean, right? For me, I don't know, right? Am I really being more productive, right, by recording these videos in the morning? I mean, I'm not doing all the other things I listed, right, while I'm doing this, but it does allow me to feel more productive. Am I doing this perfectly? No, I don't think my titles are very inventive. I invest zero time in thumbnails and descriptions. I occasionally hop on and update like some of the tags and video settings, update my playlists or something to that effect, or post to social media, but that's not very time intensive. So right? I could beat myself up about not doing it perfectly, and those negative thoughts really bring me down, make me unhappy, and feel not great about my levels of productivity. Or I could say, hey, you know what? The alternative is I sit on this drive for 45 minutes to an hour to work and home from work and do nothing, right? And for me, that was torture. So I'd like this better than that. So I'm going to stick to recording these videos. And so maybe that's the one piece you can kind of find productivity tip is, just look for those opportunities. And I've consistently shared that, all right, over the past couple months, I haven't worked out consistently, but I've stuck with my diet. So my overall identity of being a fit person, my overall habits of working on, fitness and diet and just that sort of whole picture, I'm maintaining at least, right? And making some progress there. So, and feeling good about productivity levels and whatever. So, I hope that helps. I think this one's short. I think I spoke faster than usual. Had a couple key points I wanted to make and tried to smile more. So like I said, I hope you're here for some validation. I hope you got some validation. I hope you got some tips or insights on productivity and the busy life of, me, and can, apply that to yours. But yeah, like I said, like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment down below, right? Any thoughts or feedback for me, oh, hey, yeah, I struggle with the same, here's how I deal with that, right? As I put my socks in the laundry bin and I go, oh man, like I gotta take care of some laundry, because my wife took care of the last load, so right, I gotta pitch in, right? Or again, right? Am I gonna feel like, oh man, I'm not contributing, I'm not carrying my load, I'm not very productive, and have all those negative thoughts, or, am I gonna find the time to do something about it, right? So that's what we're struggling with. So yeah, that's it for me. Happy Tuesday. I'll put out another video tomorrow morning, and that's about it. Have a great one. See ya. Good morning. How we doing out there? Today is Wednesday, March 12th, 2025. I'm Anthony, and this is Drive Dive. So I think as a rundown of this episode, I wanted to try to maybe just provide a recap of my day yesterday, maybe some additional insights on the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, and we'll see what my final thoughts are by the time I get there. So, a quick recap of my day yesterday, which I think resonated with some folks. Again, trying to get some validation, how busy or productive am I versus another adult in the world. Myself as an adult, right, with a wife, 2 kids, a job, and some other obligations and personal interests, etc. Yesterday morning, I don't know, right? Recorded a video. I love starting out my day like that. Went to work. After work, I think I placed an order for Lowe's. I gotta get some blinds up in the house, so I placed an order for Lowe's. On the way home, then from work, I picked it up. I was gonna go into the store and look around at stuff, and I said, "What am I doing?" Right? Try to save some time. Place the order ahead. Go pick it up. And then when I get home, I picked up my son, then got home. I had taken a desk apart a couple weekends ago, put it on Facebook Marketplace, and I had somebody reach out. They wanted to pick it up, so took that out of the garage, put it outside by my car. While my daughter and I then we blew bubbles outside. I thought the person picking up was going to be there much sooner, but wasn't. So we then went inside for dinner. Person did pick it up. My wife left for the gym, and then I took both of the kids to soccer. My son plays, so soccer practice from a couple hours, right? But while we're there, I'm just kind of running around with my daughter. She's super cute. It's fun, she's doing some weird stuff though, like pulling her pants down, which I don't know. She'd never done that before. So kind of comical, kind of cute, but also kind of not appropriate, and very unladylike. I'm like, for a little girl, right? This better be the only time you're doing this. But yeah, a lot of fun going back and forth. And then afterward, we get home. Our ritual, I guess, on the way home after late night soccer like that is to stop at Wendy's So we do that. My kids and are in the car with me, sharing everything in the back seat, making sure those French fries aren't too super hot for my daughter. We had a crying episode. She was in some pain one night. I guess they were like right out of the grease, Home for then showers and bed. It's like 9 o'clock or so by the time I'm in bed with my daughter. It's my turn with her, my wife's turn with our son. And I don't know, she fights it, man, but she wasn't, I don't think I left her room until like 10 o'clock at night, where I'm then trying to, sticking to my diet. I always eat that late at night, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock hour. So it was then that I was eating and finally had, I guess, some time to myself, maybe, right? I don't know, like 100% to myself, it's a struggle sometimes with kids, even just finding that that minute or two to like just use the bathroom by yourself, right? Comment down below or, give a like if you can relate to that one. Sometimes you just want to lock the door so you can be, by yourself. I'm just going to say it, on the toilet, with your thoughts or a book or, whatever, right? Like just a couple of minutes, please. So yeah, give a like if you can relate to that one. But, so 10 o'clock by the time I'm finally, alone and able to, well, do I sand some of the spackle and do some more touch up after I eat, or while I eat? I decided I was going to play Disney Lorcana, right? Trading card game online, try to work on my deck for that. So, it's just a hectic day, right? Trying to find that time to, I don't know, make it fit, make it work, feel good, feel productive, spend the time with your loved ones, make some connections, and ultimately, I don't know, just get something done, right? Again, it's like I could go off and be like, oh, you know what? I still didn't grade papers. I didn't write the review exercise that I need for my students to work on today and tomorrow for their quiz on Friday, right? There are definitely things I didn't do that are now on my agenda for when I get to work. But ultimately I feel pretty good about it. I'm really excited about the deck I put together for Lorcana. Everything I described, spending the time with my daughter, bubbles outside, then run around with her at soccer, back and forth. Yeah, we spent $1 on some chips, $2 on a pretzel, on a hot pretzel, and she threw a couple of our cups. She's got this thing going on where she likes this going to the garbage can while we're at the facility. And so, like, anything that we finish, if she can just pick it up and throw it out, she'll walk over to the garbage can and put it in. I'm trying to explain to her, like, no, this is a reusable coffee cup. Like, it does not go in the garbage. But she's a pretty forceful one. So it did end up in the garbage, and then I had to take it out of the garbage. And, she did the same thing with her cup. I thought she understood, but yeah, she did it again. It's just a game for her. So, we play peekaboo and some mirrors and stuff. So spend a lot of quality time with my daughter, while I guess also, right, in a way playing, spending quality time with my son, bringing him to soccer. I would have liked to have, gotten to watch him play a bit more closely, because we do then spend a lot of time talking about just things that occur during scrimmages and whatnot, and asking him about how he feels about his play and, what happened here, and, things of that nature, just, to make some more conversation, get him to reflect on his game and such. But overall, I feel pretty good about it. I think it was a good day. My wife and I are still, I think, struggling to connect, as I'm sure adults often do, right? But I'm not sure, right? So again, like the video, comment down below if you can relate, give me some validation as I'm trying to offer you the same. And then, so to get into what I've been reading, right, about how to win friends and influence people, yesterday I think I shared where it talks about the importance of smiling, right? And I think I'm trying to do that a bit more often, especially right these videos. I think I'm trying to smile when I greet my students as they enter the classroom. But I realized as I'm in class, trying to be like, all right, like, it's time to work on the do now, time to get out your homework, and blah blah blah. One of my kids was like, you sound like a drill sergeant. I'm like, yeah, I haven't quite figured out how to do those things, ask you to do those things, give you those directions, like, and smile, right? To sound happy about it. Is that what I think of and how I feel about my students? So it's just an interesting one. The other thought I had in regards to what I shared yesterday
about happiness, right? This is from the book, talking about happiness not being dependent upon external factors, but rather internal ones. And they specifically said, the author Carnegie specifically says that it's not where you are, what you're doing, or who you're doing the things with that make you happy. Specifically says it's how you think about them. Right? So you have to think that these things are making us happy. We have to think that, right, that this is happiness. So we have to control our own thoughts. But then I'm reminded, and I was trying to say feel. Right? In my mind, it's feel. It's not what you're doing, who you're doing it with, etc. The things that you have and such. It's how you feel about them. And I'm reminded, right, well, which comes first, thoughts or feelings? And I'm reminded of something that a woman by the name of Lori Desautel, I don't know if she is Dr. Desautel, she might be. When I worked in Randolph, she was a presenter in the district and came in to talk about social emotional learning and regulation and self-regulation and things of that nature. And she said something to the effect, I remember tweeting it, that we are, as humans, we are not thinking creatures that feel, but rather feeling creatures that think. Right? So, I guess in her mind and mine, I suppose, it's our feelings that might come before our thoughts. I don't, or maybe they go hand in hand. So that's something to think about, right? I mean, I do, right? There is power in positive thinking, and we do need to control those voices in our heads where you make a mistake and you say, "Oh, I'm such an idiot," right? Like, we have to stop doing those things, right? Not have those thoughts, not then have those words and actions, right? Where we're responding negatively to ourselves, heaven forbid to other people, right? Calling them idiots, or how could you be so stupid, or something to that nature, right? I would never say that to somebody else, but it's like I have no problem saying it to myself, right? So it's an interesting one. What comes first? The thoughts or the feelings? Was I feeling upset, and then I think to myself, right? I did something, now I feel pain, and now I'm thinking, oh, I'm experiencing this pain because, right? Or is it my thoughts, and my thoughts are more negative that I don't, right? So it's a conundrum, I think, which one comes first. But new insights, I guess, as I continued in the book, were to, I guess, just get to know people. It kind of connects to what the author Carnegie was saying about taking an interest in other people, but now more specifically saying to absolutely use their names when you greet them. And he specifically says first names, and shares an anecdote actually of, and this book was written decades ago, speaking about, I guess it was a person in one of his classes, sharing that in business, there was a gentleman with a full name, something like Nicodemus Papadoulis. I'm totally butchering it, I'm sure. But he said that for convenience, out of convenience, everyone would call this individual Nick. They'd just call him Nick. And of course, I'm reminded of students with the last name Papa, right? Maybe at some point Papadoulis just turned into Papa. I pure speculation, but and this person in the book shares that when he greeted this man using his full name, maybe it was Nicodemus Papadoulis, that individual was so stricken by that simple act of using his full proper name that he was drawn to tears. It had meant so much to him. So I'm reminded of a friend of mine from high school whose name was Inha, and he said, "Oh, but my American name is Alex." sometimes people called him Alex, and I don't know. I said, I don't know, Inha. Inha's different. Like, I'm going to call you Inha, man. I don't know his thoughts on it, but I'm also reminded of, nowadays, right, just all the merging of cultures, and sometimes, yes, our struggles too, when it's not a name featured, I guess, within or prominent within our culture, our respective cultures, we might struggle to pronounce it. Or I'm thinking of pronouns, and on LinkedIn, I think you can even do like a voice recording of your name in case folks don't know how to pronounce it. So there is much, I think, being said and done about name pronunciation in present day, decades later. Which is just, it's interesting to me, that some of these teachings can really stand the test of time. I'm also reminded, right, as an educator, we do, I think, spend a lot of time at the beginning of the year going through rosters and making sure everyone in the room is on the roster, and there isn't anyone in the room who's not on the roster. But while going through that, yes, at times struggling to say names and apologizing in advance, and did I say that correctly? Do you have any nicknames? Like, even somebody simple like a Stephanie, right, or something to that effect. Like, is it always Stephanie, ever Steph, right? I'll ask a lot of those questions, try to get their take on their name. What do they want to be called? And it's interesting to me to circle back to the Nicodemus Papadoulos, right? I guess not everybody does this. Not everybody asks the person, or in the case of education, right, the child. Because I have a student by the name of Anastasia, and going through the roles, when I first met her, I said, I called her Anastasia, and she said, yeah, Anastasia, and that was it. I gave no thought to it. I know the name Anastasia, right? I believe it was even the title of an animated film years ago. Anastasia, like I can say it, whatever. But when talking with other adults who have known this student longer, they keep referring to her as Stacy. And I think even told me she likes to be called Stacy, or something to that effect. But so I don't know, I'm always thrown off when I'm calling her Anastasia and other adults refer to her as Stacy, or they'll call the classroom and is Stacy available, or is she there? And I'm like, who's, oh, right. That's, yeah, okay, Anastasia? Yeah. So to the point where I stopped her just the other day, and I said, so like, why does everybody else call you Stacy? Like, I thought you told me you like Anastasia. Like, what should I be calling you? I double checked with her, and she said, no, I like Anastasia. So it's interesting to me, did she at one point like Stacy and then change her mind, and the other adults just haven't caught up, or did the other adults get it wrong and misinform me? Did they not reach out and have that same conversation with the child? So it's an interesting one to me. But yeah, I think it's, we want to respect one another in that way and call one another by the name that we like to be called. And I get that myself, right? With Anthony as a first name. The common question is like, always Anthony, ever Tony, and honestly, like, a lot of people just call me Ant, and I think I've always liked Ant. Hey Ant, what's going on, Ant? A couple buddies, now with kids, they're like, hey, Uncle Tony, and so, all right, that's got a cool ring to it, and that's certainly pretty common. Sounds better than Uncle Ant, but even Uncle Anthony works too. So it's an interesting one to me. Names. So it's smiling, it's names. In education, that's what I guess we're trained to do. Be in the hallway, greet kids when they come in the door, smile, say hey, use their name. And you see some of these videos out there where, you get like custom handshakes, all this other stuff, going on too as kids enter the classroom that are pretty cute. But So yeah, I mean, I think that's essentially everything I wanted to get through. I'm going to start taking some notes, try to make some things more interesting for you. I think running through my day maybe resonated with some folks, as I started to do that on Mondays. I think maybe some of those things have gotten some more views, but I'd love a little more guidance from you all. Just leave a comment down below. Thank you to, I think it was Matthew, who, nicest comment I've gotten so far, for sure, here on this, YouTube venture, where he said, like, basically said, like, I wish we were friends, and hey, man, me too, right? I could definitely use that validation, use a few good friends in my life, and, just somebody to chat with for sure. So I do appreciate that, and right back at you, man. Doesn't mean we can still interact here for sure. I got to check out your channel later, see if you got some content up there. Not everybody does, and that's cool too. But yeah, keep commenting. I'd like to keep the exchange going. So yeah, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. Try to record every morning. I hope the reflections on the book too kind of help influence your thoughts and feelings on your levels of productivity, how you feel ultimately about your day, happy, productive, etc. And yeah, happy Wednesday. Catch you tomorrow morning. See ya. All right, good morning. Today is Thursday, March 13th, 2025. I'm Anthony. This is Drive Dive. So, I guess this video, I want to quickly maybe just give a rundown of how productive and things I did yesterday. Share some interactions I had with some awesome users out there on YouTube. Offer some reflections on that. Then I think I'll get into a little bit of how to win friends and influence people, the latest chapter and lesson learned from that text, and some final reflections, and wrap things up. So yesterday, Wednesday, I don't know, I think I did a little bit of laundry, which for us, some things are line dried, air dried, whatever, right? So folding that, throwing in a load of clothes into the washer. When that's done, throw them into the dryer. Some of the things that don't go into the dryer then get put on that same rack to air/line dry. Fun stuff, the laundry that never ends, right? And I didn't even talk about folding the stuff that comes out of the dryer and putting those things away, right? Whether it's mine, my wife's, our sons, our daughters. It's a never-ending process, right? So comment down below if you can relate to that one. I don't know, I think late last night, after everyone went to bed, that's when I get my quiet time, my free time. My son and I are working on a separate video project, so I had to go through some of my camera stuff and figure out if I had the right equipment that would hook up to our video mixer. And lo and behold, I need one more cable. I need a micro HDMI cable. I have a mini HDMI cable to regular, right? Mini goes into the device and then regular out, but I needed a micro for a camera that I have. So anyway, place that order. I'll pick that up from Best Buy later. But yeah, otherwise throughout the day, it was like, right, work, where I did get caught up on grading, which feels awesome. Now I got to start tackling some lesson planning. When we were home, dinner, and then just hanging out with the kids, right? Trying to make sure my daughter eats. My son doesn't eat too much dessert or watch too much TV, but he's got to relax too. And I don't know, got to watch some Blue's Clues with my daughter, and she took a bath and bedtime routines. And what did we do? I think my daughter and I, we ate some Frosted Flakes. We shared some Bugles. It's like an after dinner snack, bedtime, and that's the end of it. So interactions from some awesome YouTubers out there. I get some love from Matthew and from Casey. Just words of encouragement, right? Can we be friends? Like, you're awesome, dude. Stay you. And so I really appreciate that. I created a post out of Matthew's. I just said, there it is, man. Like, validation, right? And I think that's why we're here. And one of the things that we, just as human beings, I think need, right? Some validation. Somebody who just appreciates what you do and says so, right? And says so and shows so, in some way that fills your cup, right? Sustains you, keeps you going. you know, and I know for sure I get that from my kids. I mean, they love me, right? I see it, I feel it, you know, they say it. You know, my daughter, who, you know, as soon as she's, you know, my wife gets her out of bed, gets her dressed, you know, on the potty, you know, she's running to the kitchen to find me and have me hold her and pick her up, right? I mean, there's that love, that affection, you know, that I think, I don't know, just we as people need, and I know I honestly, you know, crave at times. You know, my son and I, we're always talking about different projects and, you know, what we get to do together, want to do together. You know, sharing things about our days and what things we're looking forward to. So just a lot of fun and still trying to, you know, like I said, right, connect with my wife in that way. We just get so darn busy, as I say, with laundry, and, you know, she's always, right, you know, packing up food and packing up, you know, and making dinner and taking care of dishes and cleaning floors, right? There's while then I'm, you know, occupying the kids, whatever. So it's just like, you know, it just doesn't end, right? And we'll try to, like, we sold tickets online, and just the constant, like, us managing that of, like, you know, who are they sending the money to via Venmo, and who's, you know, who account has the tickets, all this other stuff, you know. So, like, doing some things, right, you know, together and some interaction and whatnot. But as far as, like, that connection, you know, is at times lacking. And, you know, so comment down below if you can relate to that one for sure. But the other thought I had on that, you know, in terms of validation and whatnot, you know, is that there are those people in your life, or I hope there are, and there should be, I feel, who give you that validation, that appreciation, like, no matter what. You know, I think a lot of times it maybe arguably should, you know, come from family, should come from, whether it's family you chose, right, or family you didn't choose. You know, those you didn't choose, mom, dad, aunt, uncle, etc. You know, and those you did choose. Right? Your spouse, your friends. I guess you could say I chose, right, my children, in that my wife and I chose to make them, have them, right, and raise them. You know, there are some people you should, I think, just get it from automatically. And so it can be really disappointing when you thought you would get it from a particular person, you know, or you certainly at least have people in your life, whether you chose them or not, who, even if you don't get it automatically, right, they should, I think, like, make that effort to take an interest in you and your interests, and again, just provide that validation. So, you know, it's crushing when my son and I, we have a separate channel with some video game content, and just to get from certain people, like, I watched like 15 seconds and I couldn't go any further. It's like, well, come on, like, really, you know? That's how we treat each other. Like, that's how we feel about one another's interests. You know, that we can't give it more than 15 seconds and just dismiss it and it's gone. You know, and I get a lot of that from as my son and I run around to different Disney Lorcana events and tournaments. You know, people, adults, right, who see me with my son in that way, you know, interacting and whatnot, and they've grown up around these things themselves. And often kind of made their own way, you know, they'll stop me and go, like, man, like, it's so awesome that you're here with your son, that you spend this time with him. And then they tell me that, you know, oh, well, my dad, you know, he just said this was like gambling and he wanted no part of it, would not play with me at all. Another dude was like, even when I went home and I would, like, win tournaments and I'd earn these, like, you know, really expensive prize cards, etc. And, you know, I'd go home and share it with my dad, and he just, you know, they just weren't getting that same validation, right? They weren't getting that affection, that response that they thought they would get, right? There are just people who you think and should be able to expect, you know, to get that response, get that reaction. Like, oh my goodness, that's amazing. Just that's all it takes sometimes, you know. And so I hope for you, I hope you have those people in your life, you know, who do that for you. If you don't, you got to find them, right? And I think that's part of maybe my YouTube journey is finding that validation, right? Yes, I get to feel more productive just by recording the video at the start of my day. I get to feel more productive, but I might also be able to gain some friends, right? Some of that validation, appreciation, and just knowing, right? That response, right? Like, hey man, we notice your efforts. It's cool. We appreciate it. So comment down below, right? If you can relate to any of that. And like I said, the third piece is from how to make friends and how to win friends, and influence people. I want to say, right, they started out talking about being critical of yourself and not of others, smiling, right, taking an interest in others. And this latest chapter, I think, was about just how to be a better conversationalist. And along all those sort of same lines, smiling and taking an interest in others, is really talking about, when engaged in a conversation, just being a better listener, asking questions, prompting people to share more about themselves. I guess there's the underlying theory presented that really people do want that. They do want the opportunity to talk about themselves. And so when they're in a conversation with someone who is asking about them, and they're then able to share about themselves, it makes them feel good. It makes them feel appreciated. And so the author was, I guess, recommending that, right? To just be a good listener, to ask good, thoughtful questions, and leave it at that. But I guess, right, in the earlier chapter, talking about if you want people to be interested in you, take an interest in them. So through this conversational approach, you're definitely taking an interest in this other person by asking questions. He's telling this story. He's at a dinner party with a botanist, and he's like, I don't really know anything about botany, so he's not really contributing to the conversation in terms of content and all this other stuff, but just asking questions and giving that botanist the time, the attention, to share his knowledge and such. But the question I have is, like I said, about having people in your life that sort of reciprocate, is that part hasn't come up yet in the book. Is how much effort, like where does it need to stop? When have you expended enough effort and interest in others where you should be able to expect that same in return? And gosh, like, what happens when you don't get it? Right? So those are the things on my mind, and that's where I think I struggle at times, where it's in a lot of aspects of my life, right? Like, I talk a lot about my kids, I talk a lot about my wife, my students in the classroom. Sometimes you design a lesson, you feel like, right, I'm taking an interest in my kids and what they know and how I think they know math, and how I can leverage those ideas and thoughts and skills into the next lesson. And then what happens when it falls flat? What happens when you don't get that same reciprocation? So it's interesting to me, and that's kind of where my brain is. So again, comment down below, right? If you can relate, and that's me. I think taking an interest in you, asking if you can relate, right? Sharing this story, but then asking if you can relate. And it really does remind me of another article I read just about conversation in general, where, and this particular article was more of like a back and forth type of approach, and less of a just keep asking questions and prompting the other person to continue speaking. But I guess when engaging in a conversation, there's always an opportunity when in what the other person says for you as the listener, right, to then sort of piggyback off of. Oftentimes, right, we're asking about the weather, or we're asking about the weekend, just because that's sort of a safe, something everyone experiences, something everyone can kind of say something about. But then it's like, when they say, oh yeah, it's been so warm and sunny, then the next person's able to be like, oh, well, like, do you spend time outdoors? Or oh yeah, when it's warm and sunny, I like to hang out with my kids. And oh, do you have any children? And then they in turn are able to talk about theirs and or their outdoor activities, and having a bit more of that exchange, and basically the advice being to not only be a good listener and listen for those little bits to then follow up on, but to also make sure that in your response, you're leaving one for the other person as well to piggyback off of, right? And I guess if you're not leaving one for them to, I guess maybe that's the time to follow up and, you know, and then also just answer a question to give them something specific, right? Here's what I'd like you to respond to, as opposed to just leaving it out there. And like I said, the same sort of like, all right, I left this piece out there hoping, thinking, right, that you would latch onto it, and oh my goodness, you didn't. What does that mean? Right? Is that a sign that like this conversation's over? You don't want to be a part of this conversation, right? So I don't know, maybe I'm a little neurotic in that sense, or it just gives you the idea of kind of, you know, what I go through sometimes throughout my day. But my interactions with people, you know, when you just don't quite get the reaction you're hoping for, need, crave, etc. Oh man, so I think that's everything, right? You know, was it the most productive day? No. Certainly some things I didn't get done yesterday that I'm trying to slot in, you know, I guess the next few days and the weekend. Some thoughts on the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's been a nice read. You know, I encourage you to get into it. Again, decades old, and there's definitely a certain writing style. It's very, very anecdotal, which is kind of neat, taking me a little bit of time to get used to. And yeah, some thoughts on conversation, connecting some other random article I probably read on, I don't know, Forbes or something along those lines, popped up in my Google News feed or whatever. But anyway, if you got anything from this video, give a thumbs up, like the video, subscribe to the channel, you know, comment down below, give you some spots you might be able to latch on to, give me some feedback, some encouragement, fill my cup, keep me going. I hope I did the same for you. So that's it. Happy Thursday. I will catch you tomorrow morning. Have a great day. All right, good morning. Happy Friday. It's March 14th. Happy Pi Day 2025. I'm Anthony. This is Drive Dive. So you are here, get some productivity tips to kind of get a glimpse of my life and hopefully feel better about yours. Get some lessons and things on productivity, some examples of how I try to be productive and ways in which I'm starting to feel more productive. You know, just the little things I do, how I spend time with the family, projects and things I'm engaged in. Maybe how this stuff kind of applies to my professional life. And, you know, that's it, right? Just comment down below. Any thoughts on productivity, any videos you've seen of mine prior, or other content you want me to check out that might help me, help you, etc. You know, kind of just keep that cycle going. But so as far as my day yesterday, you know, try to recap some of that for you. You know, the usual morning, right? Recording these helps me feel more productive, and then the work day, you know, trying to focus there and, you know, make sure I'm locked in as a teacher, you know, grading papers and talking to kids and getting to know them and just teach better, right? Make sure they're understanding the material and they're getting ready for their own, you know, quizzes and such. But then I got the interesting text from my wife that, you know, our daughter is her eyes are crusty and she needs to get picked up. So, you know, that always throws a wrench into plans. But so thankfully my wife was able to go pick her up, spend the afternoon, you know, late morning and afternoon with her. And then we switched off around, I don't know, 4 o'clock or so. And my wife works at the gym on Thursday nights. So then I go pick, and then so I got Ellie, I got my daughter picked up. Got my daughter, picked up my son. And then I was home with the two of them, you know, through dinner and such. And then, you know, my wife gets home, and now we're just trying to, I don't know, figure things out, right? And keep everybody occupied. But my son and I had originally, like I said, having to pick up my daughter and have her home from school and be with her in the evening. My son and I, we were planning on, you know, doing a little video project where I'd stop at Best Buy to get a cable. I have a few cameras I thought would work with the video mixer and things. He wants to do like a card reveal, you know, open up a bunch of Disney Lorcana packs and just, I don't know, go through those and highlight some of the cards, any rare ones, legendary ones, etc. So we kind of had something like that in mind, but we weren't able to do it until like really late at night, and it was kind of frustrating because it was the first time for me trying to really use all this equipment in that way. You know, prior to, I was just using the video mixer that's where he and I are playing video games, each on separate laptops, to kind of go back and forth between our two screens. But now to try to do, you know, two simultaneous, maybe a little picture-in-picture action, I was struggling a little bit. And then by the time we got it, and certain batteries weren't charged and everything like that, by the time we got it all set up, then he's recording and holding up the cards and trying to coach him as far as like holding it closer to the camera while he's reading off the card and everything, and trying to tell him, like, dude, you don't have to read the entire card and all these facts and stuff about it. Like, we'll never get through, the whole box, all 24 packs, opening and revealing and opening and revealing. So and then I was playing around with lighting while we're filming. I was like, oh, it's looking kind of dark, and I set up a ring light nearby just to better illuminate some things. And so it's some growing pains, as we're trying to different formats, different content, but fun, right? Growing pains, but fun, right? Learning can be painful. Failure can be painful, but it is ultimately learning and growth opportunities, and I guess we'll be better for it in the end. And those things will require definitely more editing than my approach to this content, which is just raw, unedited. There is one little bit that I'm going to try to cut out later, but anyhow, after that experience, I realized I needed to figure out a better way to use, like, I have a Nikon D, was it 3200, something like that I was trying to use, but started to Google how to better do that. So I learned about dummy batteries and being able to essentially plug that camera into the wall so that I'm not so reliant on the rechargeable battery and limited power that provides. So do that, try to play around with that later, while we maybe record another video of my son opening 24 packs of cards, 12 cards each pack, kind of just going through all that stuff. So we'll see. He's young yet, it's fun to see his maturation, and he'll get the hang of it. He'll speak more confidently, loudly, more clearly. Just things that he is working on while we're just having fun, right? And those are things we've said. We want to be good at Disney Lorcana. We're going to be spending all this time playing games and opening cards, and it's like, well, he also wants to be a YouTuber, so I guess we may as well, while we're doing these things anyway, set up the cameras and get it going. Obviously, like I said, some pain we're running into, some growing pains. It's not as simple as just setting up a camera if you're trying to do it a certain way, arguably right. If you're going to do it right, it can take some time, but we'll figure it out. And that's just, that's the fun part. So on to how to win friends and influence people. The last chapter I read, I got to put a couple of things together where a few chapters combined. The advice in the book is to really take interest in other people, to, one, use their names, smile, greet them using their names, and to take an interest in them by asking questions about them, in conversations with them, prompting them to continue talking about themselves. And the author provides examples of, like, less businessmen, I think, and more, some business, but more politicians, and the lengths they went through sort of on campaign trails of, as they're at different functions, interacting with different people, reaching out to the hosts of those events and asking them to remind them, oh, hey, who did I speak with at this table? Who did I speak with at that table? To then get more notes and information, and certainly the names of those people, to then be able to follow up personally with them with some sort of thank you card, handwritten notes, to, I guess, establish those more direct connections and such. And then in this latest chapter, the author talks about the lengths that people would go to now, once I've gotten to know this person, and once I've learned they're interested in specific topics, well, now going through the trouble of, okay, they're interested in boats. I don't know anything about boats, but I have this relationship with them. I'm going to visit them, or I've invited them into my home. I know they're interested in boats. I'm going to take the time to do the research to learn about boats so that I can now, perhaps in a more meaningful way, a more back and forth, right? A little less, tell me more, tell me more, tell me more. And, oh yes, I have seen this and I've read this, and what are your thoughts on? To be able to just contribute more to that conversation, I guess, about boats. I totally understand it. I appreciate the advice, and I can think of certain contexts in which you might go to those lengths, right? I'm thinking about if you're trying to impress your girlfriend's father right before proposing marriage, and you want to ask him for, his permission, his blessing, right? You may want to do those sorts of things. If you're preparing for a job interview, I think you're doing that with your research on the company, on the stakeholders and decision makers within that organization. You're getting to learn about them, their interests, perhaps, right, the mission statements, etc., the work that they do, so you can speak meaningfully about it, not just about you, or if you're fortunate enough to be able to get an interview where it is a bit more of that conversational approach to prompt those to talk about their interests, but you've already kind of anticipated their interest by doing that research, and now I guess better able to engage in a, like I said, a more meaningful, I am knowledgeable about the things that you're interested in, and I'd be a really valuable member of the team, etc. But otherwise, I felt like if you're kind of doing it to make friends, right? I think there was in this part of the book is talking about, I want to say it was like a child, and an adult was in the home and knew that this child was interested. I do think it was boats, and that man knew in advance the child was interested in boats, so he did some research, and then when he came by, he's talking with the child about the boats, and really impressed the child to the point where he speaks to his mother or grandmother, caregiver, about how interesting this man was and how awesome it was that he knew so much about boats that he too was excited about. And then the caregiver revealed, like, he doesn't really care about boats. Like, he just, did that to impress you. And I don't know. To me, it's okay. That's really cool. They did that, but now does it also come across as like phony or disingenuous? Like, I wouldn't want to necessarily start a relationship off that way, or have an exchange that way. But I don't know. Maybe that does work. I'm not sure. I guess I'd have to try it, right? But I don't know. I think I'm more about like I said, I think in yesterday's video about this sort of two-way dialogue and conversational approach of you're listening for someone to say something that you can then latch on to or ask a follow-up question on. And it's okay to, I think, revisit a prior conversation. Like, I have a custodian at work who, as we're talking about weather, right, is a safe topic, everyone can relate to the weather and talk about it. He would often say that, oh man, I'm waiting for great weather this weekend. It's going to warm up. I like to wash my car, and it dawned on me, right, when he says something like that, I'm like, oh, you know what? I never asked him. So I approached him and I said, hey man, I've been meaning to ask you. You said you like to wash your car. What kind of car do you drive? And so then he gets into washing it and keeping it clean, and I talk about how, I signed up for a monthly membership, and then he gets into, the automated car washes and, scratching up your paint, and you can restore it, but you can only do that so many times. Clear, like, he's revealing that he's so, very knowledgeable about maintaining the exterior of the car for sure. And then he approaches me the next day to say, like, hey, if you ever need that work done, and reveals that he's got this whole side gig and everything. So it's just an interesting approach. I think I like that better. Right now, I'm not going to go and do the research myself and talk about, I don't know, different processes to maintain the clear coat and color or whatever of a car and etc. But to, now that I realize he is, you know, an expert, he can be that go-to guy for me if I do ever need that work done, or have a friend who needs that work done, or if I have other questions about car maintenance and such, you know, he might be knowledgeable on that subject, or know other people, right? I don't think there's a need for me to now spend that time learning those things myself, right? If you knew everything and could do everything, well then you wouldn't need other people. But that's not what this is about, right? This is about needing other people, connecting with other people, and finding ways to do that. So it's just an interesting one where I don't necessarily agree with the author Carnegie on this particular one about, you know, doing all this research, but maybe for, like I said, specific context. But, you know, I don't know, comment down below if and when you've done that, you know, done some research on a particular topic in preparation, maybe for a particular event, or gosh, for a conversation. But I think that's it. You know, that's what I've got. I think I feel productive. And yesterday, again, it's like there are things that I didn't get to do, like work out. There's still laundry sitting in the dryer for me to fold, and things that I'll get to, right? But I'm looking forward to, I think, a busy, productive weekend, and upload this video, do a sort of a compilation video of this week's. I think I'll try recording a video after I rewatch all of them, so then I can provide some kind of, you know, introductory overview. But that's it for me. You know, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Any insights or feedback you'd like to share, you know, comment down below. Otherwise, yeah, like I said, happy Friday. Get some $3.14 pizza at 7-Eleven if you haven't heard about that promotional offer for Pi Day. And yeah, make it a great weekend. I'll see you. Take care.